Alan Moore is an English writer primarily known for his work in comic books, including Watchmen, V for Vendetta and From Hell, frequently described as the best graphic novel writer in history. He has been called one of the most important British writers of the last 50 years. He has occasionally used such pseudonyms as Curt Vile, Gilda Ray, Translucia Baboon, and the original writer. Moore started writing for British underground and alternative fanzines in the late 1970s before achieving success publishing comic strips in such magazines as 2000 AD and Warrior. He was subsequently picked up by the American DC Comics, and as the first comics writer living in Britain to do prominent work in America. He worked on major characters such as Batman and Superman, substantially developed the character Swamp Thing, and penned original titles such as Watchmen. During that decade, Moore helped to bring about greater social respectability for comics in the United States and United Kingdom. He prefers the term comic to graphic novel. In the late 1980s and early 1990s he left the comic industry mainstream and went independent for a while, working on experimental work such as the epic From Hell, the pornographic Lost Girls, and the prose novel Voice of the Fire. He subsequently returned to the mainstream later in the 1990s, working for Image Comics, before developing America's Best Comics, an imprint through which he published works such as The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen and the occult-based Promethea. Moore is an occultist, ceremonial magician, and anarchist, and has featured such themes in works including Promethea, From Hell, and V for Vendetta, as well as performing avant-garde spoken-word occult workings with the Moon and Serpent Grand Egyptian Theatre of Marvels, some of which have been released on CD. Despite his own personal objections, his books have provided the basis for a number of Hollywood films, including From Hell, The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, V for Vendetta, and Watchmen. Moore has also been referenced in popular culture, and has been recognized as an influence on a variety of literary and television figures including Neil Gaiman, Joss Whedon, and Damon Lindelof. Early life. Moore was born on the 18th of November 1953, at St Edmund's Hospital in Northampton to a working-class family who, he believed, had lived in the town for several generations. He grew up in a part of Northampton known as the Buries, a poverty-stricken area with a lack of facilities and high levels of illiteracy, but he nonetheless loved it. "I loved the people, I loved the community, and I didn't know that there was anything else." Quote. He lived in his house with his parents, brewery worker Ernest Moore, and printer Sylvia Doreen, with his younger brother Mike and his maternal grandmother. He read omnivorously from the age of 5, getting books out of the local library, and subsequently attended Spring Lane Primary School. At the same time, he began reading comic strips, initially British strips, such as Topper and Ibiza, but eventually also American imports such as The Flash, Detective Comics, Fantastic Four, and Black Hawk. He later passed his 11+ exam, and was therefore eligible to go to Northampton Grammar School, where he first came into contact with people who were middle-class and better educated, and he was shocked at how he went from being one of the top pupils at his primary school to one of the lowest in the class at secondary, subsequently disliking school and having no interest in academic study. He believed that there was a covered curriculum being taught that was designed to indoctrinate children with punctuality, obedience, and the acceptance of monotony. In the late 1960s, Moore began publishing his own poetry and essays in fanzines, eventually setting up his own fanzine, Embryo. Through Embryo, Moore became involved in a group known as the Northampton Arts Lab, The Arts Lab subsequently made significant contributions to the magazine. He began dealing the hallucinogenic LSD at school, being expelled for doing so in 1970. He later described himself as one of the world's most inept LSD dealers. The headmaster of the school subsequently got in touch with various other academic establishments that I'd applied to and told them not to accept me because I was a danger to the moral well-being of the rest of the students there, which was possibly true. Whilst continuing to live in his parents' home for a few more years, he moved through various jobs, including cleaning toilets and working in a tannery. In late 1973, he met and began a relationship with Northampton-born Phyllis Dixon, with whom he moved into a little one-room flat in the Barrack Road area in Northampton. Soon marrying, they moved into a new council estate in the town's eastern district while he worked in an office for a subcontractor of the local gas board. Moore felt that he was not being fulfilled by this job, and so decided to try to earn a living doing something more artistic.